Hi guys, welcome to Texas Latino Comic Con, our first virtual show. We're really excited to start this new endeavor with you. So let's go ahead and begin with our amazing co-moderator, Laura Sandoval from Lautrek Cosplay from Mexican capital, the DF. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Laura.
Okay. Hey guys, I'm Laura Sandoval, Lautrek Cosplay. I'm from Mexico City and I'm so excited for being part from this great event, virtual because we have some problems in the life, but I hope we can one day make this more big and I hope you enjoy this.
Yes, actually. So we actually have a very special panel to start off with. We're going to have Kevin Garcia and Emmanuel Valtierra, from Texas. They're going to talk about their upcoming project. They're going to talk about their influences, their history, how they're involved in the indie scene themselves. So let's go ahead and bring our guest. Kevin.
Thanks for coming. Kevin.
How do you do, Hector? Laura, thank you guys so much for having us on.
Right, let's go ahead and bring Emmanuel. Emmanuel.
How's it going?
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you guys for being part of this.
Thanks for the invite.
Honestly, I've been excited about being part of the Texas Latino Comic Con again this year for months, and then when everything got canceled, I freaked out. But online, this is the way to go. We can have now guests all the way from DF, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, no, it's actually there's so many pros for this new virtual format. And we're looking forward to having an amazing day today, sharing our stories, and just focusing on having a good time and celebrating our culture. Well, so let's go ahead and begin. So Kevin, for those that do not know who Kevin Garcia is, I know Kevin Garcia, you were also a moderator for Texas Latino Comic Con before. You've done a lot for the indie scene yourself in Texas, but you actually have a pretty deep history within the indie as well as the professional comic book industry. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, I've been a professional writer for 20 years now, and when I started out, I was a reporter for a city paper, part of the Associated Press, and I made it my goal to promote as many indie creators as I could. So I did a lot of stories for the Brownsville Herald, and they got shared through the AP about things like, Jane's World and other, indie comics that were up and coming at the time. And it's always been a passion of mine. And then about 10 years ago, I was no longer writing for the paper, but I was teaching already. And I began writing for Marvel Comics and doing research with the official handbook of the Marvel Universe team and having a lot of fun. Kind of a little bit behind the scenes, helping Marvel run, and that was a lot of fun. And then this year, I decided, I need to start doing my own thing. And with Emmanuel's help, we decided, let's make something cool.
Right. Speaking of Emmanuel, I know that Emmanuel, you were also a guest on our previous Texas Latino Comic Con, and you brought in some amazing talent yourself. I know that I recall some of your items being sold out, your codex being like high in demand, and I'm like, I remember going through the tables as I usually go, and I'm like, okay, I got to pick that one up and that, and I go back to my, hey, dude, I'm sorry, I'm sold out, brother. So a little bit about yourself, your art.
About my persona?
Yeah, your persona. Who is Emmanuel?
Well, I was born here in San Antonio, and I moved to Mexico when I was 3 or 4 years old. And I've been drawing since then. Like I was drawing any kind of cartoons, the classic Dragon Ball Z, and I used to draw a lot about the Warner Brothers cartoons by Tex Avery and Chuck Jones. And I grew up and I became a graphic designer, and I started drawing and somehow I ended up drawing Aztec cartoons, right? And that got a lot of attention. That includes Kevin's attention. And one day we met each other and we said like, hey, let's
I could not get enough.
Let's make a comic together.
Where did you guys meet?
It was through you, actually.
Yeah, right. Texas. Yeah.
2 years ago.
I want to take credit. We want to take credit here.
No, you can totally go for it. So yeah, I mean, pretty much it. I've been drawing a lot of Aztec culture stuff, comics, games, books. What else? Just illustrations, videos, and it worked. People likes it, and I like it. I'm happy doing it, and that's it. Yeah.
And I did notice that, I know for a lot of our viewers, audience, because we're going to have such a wide range of people watching. It's a lot of kids, and you go back to Droga Moseta, right, Laura?
Yeah.
Droga Moseta is huge in Latin America, it's been such a huge influence for a lot of us growing up, right? And so talking about students, Kevin, you're an educator yourself, right?
Yeah, I teach high school. I've been teaching high school for about 14 years. Currently, I'm teaching graphic design and journalism. And but for many, many years, I taught on a school about a quarter mile from the border. And I was thinking about the kind of stories that the kids want to read, the kind of things. And these, when I say kids, I mean these are like 18, 19. These are already basically young adults. So it's not stuff aimed at kids, but stuff that older teenagers can get into and read about. We need more of that.
Most definitely. And you said a majority of your students being low socioeconomic.
In Brownsville, yeah, it was. They had a lot of various things that were kind of up against them, as they worked. And for my goal as a teacher was always to make sure that they could achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve and push forward to it. And I had a lot of kids that would tell me flat out, why does it matter? My parents didn't achieve anything. They came across, at a certain time and they couldn't do anything. And now look at me. And I'm like, no, your parents came a long way from wherever it is they started. And your job is to keep going farther. And, I still have these kids get back to me today, and they will reach out to me through Facebook or whatever and be like, hey, look what I'm doing. I'm doing this now. And, oh, this is my kid now. And, it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's amazing. So which brings us to something that you guys are currently working on, right? And so I'm going to go and share out the title. So bear with me. Teoatl. And let's go ahead. And so, Emmanuel, can you give us a little bit more of behind what Teoatl is? Currently on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm. We have it on Kickstarter right now. The campaign has been running for almost 2 weeks. Actually, today is going to be 2 weeks. And it's been doing pretty well. We already reached the money goal. Now we're going beyond that. We're trying to create some stretch goals so people can keep backing us and bring some other people also to have some interest on the story. And do you want to know about the story? You want to know about the art? What do you like?
Let's go ahead and bring up. You're talking about the story, so let's go ahead and take it over to Kevin. What was the inspiration for that?
Well, the original inspiration was I'd given a talk about mythology, as I do at a lot of different conventions. And of course, I'd just seen Emmanuel's, I'd seen his stuff the year before, but this past year I went ahead and picked up some of his cards and other stuff. I know I keep hawking Emmanuel's products. And he comes up to me and he says, hey, we should do a project together, and because we both have this interest in Mesoamerica. I immediately say, I'd love to do a story about Mayan mythology. And he's like, no, Aztecs are cool. So then we started back and forth talking. We finally settled on a story that we wanted to do, one that I was familiar with and he was familiar with from his childhood. And then we began researching it, and researching it became a bigger and bigger story. What we're looking at is the origin of Tenochtitlan, the birth of the Aztec Empire. Not necessarily the start of the Aztecs. It's not the Mexica first leaving, in their grand journey. This is the end of that journey, but still several hundred years before the Spaniards show up to kind of muckrack everything. So this is the birth of their path to greatness, I guess. And we wanted to kind of focus it around a few individuals that can kind of be the heart of the story. And they're just as Emmanuel said, he wanted to have over the top heroes that were the kind of like the Conan the Barbarian or Sin City or 300, where it's the over the top stories of exaggeration. And it's been a blast kind of developing this with him.
Now when I hand it over to Laura right now, I know that this is the Norteño perspective, North Mexican, Southwest, donde where I'm from. Pero Laura, friend from DF, la capital de Mexico, you know, you're well connected and you definitely lived through the, I mean, ahí están todo, ¿verdad? En DF, so.
You must come. You must come and make a tour for all of the pyramids and everything, all that stuff. You really enjoy it. I want to go. Okay, the next year maybe.
It's beautiful over there.
Yes, and of course, I think for me it's very exciting to see that work because, like Mexicans, we love to see in foreign our country to see all these things, not because like we talked with Kevin, no, there be another mythologic topics in heroes in comics, but Mexico topics like that. I never saw it, so for me, I think it's so exciting to see that job.
Yeah, you see so much of like Thor and Hercules all around the world. You watch a lot of anime. They have a lot of German mythology in anime for some reason from Japan. But like there's not enough of that, Mexican, Latin American cultural ancestral history that is out there in pop culture. And I'd like to see more of it. I'd like to see it be more familiar to people, you know?
Yes.
Emmanuel, you're always telling us how you love the Aztec art and stuff. Why Aztec specifically, and not necessarily some of the other stuff? What was it about that drew you in?
That's the one I fell in love with since I was little. When I was going to elementary school in Mexico, in Monterrey, we will have all these pictures in the textbooks about the Aztecs, also the Mayans. There was something about the Aztecs that I always liked. Probably the way they portrayed the gods. They always like two-dimensional characters. And I think I mentioned this before, but like since I was little, I enjoyed drawing Teoatl and Tlaloc, and the big ones, the ones that were on the textbooks. Then I grew up, and then I read a few books. The one that really inspired me was Aztec, like Gary Jennings. I was like, man, this is freaking cool. Like, I love it. Like, I want to do this. I want to keep bring this to the public, because then again, and even though if it was a bestseller book, many people didn't know about it. So that's how I started doing the art. Just in general, I wanted people to know about this. And then again, you just said anime, TV shows, movies, they talk about Nordic mythology, Greek, any other ones, but like never Aztec. Even Mayan had some reception. I don't know why. I know why, but I don't know what makes them bigger than the Aztecs. But I felt like the Aztecs were left behind completely. And,
so, Emmanuel, looking at the art style right now, what kind of influences do you draw specifically within the Western comic book artists? Everybody knows here from.
Well, and it's hard. At the beginning, the way I draw, like I've been drawing for the last 5 years, like comic style. And then I had to draw a comic, like real people. And if I look at my background as an artist, when I was trying to draw real people or like live characters, my style was like, Tex Avery style, like, like the Wolfie with like the puppy eyes, like, and all those kinds, like, woo, like big hands and like faces like this. Now I have to go and draw this. So, like, I've done it before just for fun, but like never professionally. I was trying to go for what would you say, Kevin? I don't know, like. I want to say
the one you said to me specifically was Frank Miller. You said you wanted to really be inspired by that kind of heavy shadows and exaggerated violence of Frank Miller.
I would say Frank Miller was my number one. It's not my only one, because then again, like you can actually tell, like I try to draw like child cartoons or childish cartoon at the same time that I'm trying to do Frank Miller. So I get like this really weird.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you see this as a challenge to be more commercial? The industry pressure to commercialize your art?
It could be. In somehow, yes, you're right about that. But like on the other hand, I'm just trying to have fun.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care if people don't like it. Like this is what I want to. Like I like the way it looks, so I'm not trying to go like super commercial. Like I'm just trying to have fun and draw what I like. Being honest.
That's amazing. That's great. Now we're looking forward to more Awesome. So, Kevin, going back to your writing. So, what inspired you to specifically? I mean, you talked about your students.
Well, in terms of the topic, I've always been fascinated with ancient cultures and mythology. And just to be really clear, whenever I say the word myth, I never mean myth to mean a lie. I don't like when people say truth or myth. I don't like that. Yes, that's a meaning of the word myth, but I prefer the word myth to mean somebody somewhere believes it or believed it. That's what matters about it. I don't care if it's true or not. That's not important. Somebody believed it. And the thing is that when it comes to that myth, like Emmanuel was saying, you see a lot of Norse, you see a lot of Greek, you see a lot of others, but you don't see this history. So I wanted to bring that out. For this specific story, though, once Emmanuel and I had decided to do the founding of Tenochtitlan, I started doing research. I was reading the early historical records from that were written down between 1300 and not 1300, sorry, about 1500 rather, and 1700. So I'm looking at the earliest versions. And of course, these are written during colonial times, so they're going to have that kind of colonial, tinge to it. After reading several versions of those, that some of them contradict, some of them match, then I go and looked at modern takes on them, like David Bowles or Coe or some of the other ones that study Mesoamerican mythology, and just kind of took bits and pieces from each to kind of make a cohesive story. You know what I mean? So the way I was telling people is that it's not necessarily a retelling of history. It's more of a reimagining of history. It's kind of like 300. You're taking the story the way the Greeks would have told it. So this is the story, as the heroes would have told their story.
That's actually a great connection there. Yep. And that's what I really stand out. And I thought about Teoatl with 300, just the stylistic revisioning how the actual heroes would tell their story. Y para mis amigos bilingües, Laura, nos tienes unas preguntas en español.
Claro. ¿Cuál es el reto? O, por ejemplo, estamos muy acostumbrados a lo que nos ofrece DC, Marvel, etcétera, y entonces es como una forma muy comercial, ¿no? Incluso ya no sé, sabemos, ya sabe lo que le gusta a la gente, hacen esa línea o trabajan sobre eso. Ustedes con este producto, ¿cómo piensan competirle o a lo mejor sobresalir o que la gente se interese más por este tipo de proyectos que a lo mejor, no van a dejar de lado a Marvel o DC, pero sí empezar a hacer competencia bajo esta línea?
Bueno, en realidad no sé de qué forma lo vea Kevin, pero la forma en que lo veo yo es que yo no quiero competir con ellos. O sea, yo no los veo como una competencia. Otra vez, lo que estamos haciendo los dos es prácticamente haciendo cosas que nos gustan, lo estamos haciendo por diversión. Al menos, otra vez, yo en ningún momento he pensado de que sí, hay que derrotar a Marvel y DC. Claro que no. Es algo por diversión, nos está yendo bien. Si lo podemos traer a la gente, pues perfecto. Y si no se puede, pues ni modo, ¿verdad? Tratamos que, bueno, a este momento, el día de hoy, ya lo logramos, ¿verdad? Lo que significa que la gente lo apreció y le gustó. Pero al grado de decir, no, pues vamos a competir con estos chavos, no, claro que no. Esperemos
a lo mejor no competir, pero sí ser como parteaguas o ser una punta de flecha para que a lo mejor ese tipo de culturas latinoamericanas también, ¿no? O sea, tengan esa exposición de estas historias o de estos personajes que también pueden ser héroes, ¿no? Porque a lo mejor es muy tímido todavía ese rubro es que, ay, ¿cómo vamos a lo mejor a posicionarnos en el mercado con nuestras historias? A lo mejor no tienen tanto foco, ¿no? Sino ustedes están haciendo una estrategia verdaderamente para que a la gente encuentren un público diferente, ¿no? Que también esté interesado en esto.
Mira, te voy a decir que es el...
Real quick, Kevin, basically, how do you see Teoatl we don't want to say compete, but be a part of the major...
Honestly, this is not the kind of story that you would normally see from Marvel and DC, with the exception of maybe some brief periods when Vertigo would be really, really, really weird. But I see this more as being part of the conversation of other indie creators that are making stories about the Mayans and the Aztecs and Mesoamerican-inspired stuff. And in that respect, each art style is unique. And I think Emmanuel's style definitely tells this story perfectly. I don't think it needs to be changed more than it is. I have had people ask me, do you think it's bad that there's somebody else making a comic about Aztecs? They're like, oh, it's competition. It's like, no, I don't see a competition at all. The more creators, the better should be doing this, because it's like, as we said, there's so many Norse, so many Greek. There should be more Aztec. There should be more Mayan. There should be more of this again, cultural heritage being brought to the forefront. So the more creators do this, the better, in my view.
I'm going to tell you what.
Y te voy a dar una pregunta sobre un fan aquí por el Face, Emmanuel. Tenemos Eduardo, que nos están preguntando, ¿van a realizar otros cómics con otros temas de los países de Mesoamérica como los incas y los mayas?
Digo, estaría genial si acabamos la historia, bueno, porque la historia que estamos haciendo van a ser 6 o 7 cómics. Después de eso, si a la gente le gustó, si la gente nos pide más, estaría genial. Preferiría incas más que mayas, y después mayas. No, pues es que los incas me gusta mucho todo el rollo que traen por allá, ¿verdad? Como los mayas y los aztecas se parecen, no, sí hay mucha diferencia, pero sabes que son primos, ¿verdad? Y los incas no son primos, ya es algo completamente diferente. Entonces,
distant relatives.
Well, yeah, exactly. And
but as a writer, I do want to do those someday. I want to do more of the different cultures. Yeah.
And I wanted to mention something. I will tell you. Was the perfect situation for what we're doing. Imagine we finish our comic, the whole graphic novel. And 5 months after that, Marvel or DC come up with like an Aztec thing. That's a win for me. Even though I'm not being part of it, that's a freaking win. Like, we made it. I mean, we made these guys take notice of what we're doing.
I agree.
TV series and everything, movies.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. If somebody wanted to offer us money to make a cartoon out of this or something, we'd be like, yeah, let's do it. But no, he's right. If Marvel or DC were to make, a mainstream Aztec-inspired superhero after seeing, not just our comic, but other comics that are coming out, I think that would be a win. It's like, it's not financially a win for us, but creatively, that's what we want. We want more of that. We want more of that out there for people to be able to read.
And we do see this gradual pivot towards the Mesoamerican mythology happening. I know that we have Jorge Gutierrez, Mayan in the Tree, just all these projects that are currently in development. And so, and I see Teoatl being part of this great, being the tip of the spear of this greater push towards, representation. It's been, in mythology, because I figured that maybe we're a little tired of our Western mythos being used over and over and over and over again, but
I do want to say there that sometimes you'll hear people say something like, oh, well, if you do more of these, that means less of the other. I don't think there'd be less Thor or less Hercules. There's just room for more gods, more cultures. So I don't want to. It's not taking away from the Norse. They're still going to be there.
Oh yeah.
But at this point,
let's get some more in there too.
Is there anything we haven't seen from them? Anything we haven't heard? Right, for example, by the Norse. Just
it's funny that there's some weirder stories that are just now starting to become part of Marvel. Like they recently brought in, they have like a god squirrel that now is part of the Marvel universe. That is from the original stories, and it's now part of the storyline with Squirrel Girl. So they've been bringing in even the little. It's not even just the big names everybody's heard of. It's now the little side parts. Like for the Aztecs, if I mention Aztec mythology, most people go, "Oh yeah, feathered serpent, right? Quetzalcoatl and smoking mirror. That's the only ones they know." And I'm like, yeah, there's more than that.
Oh, you're right. So, what other projects would you guys like to work on after Teoatl?
As we're like midway through this project, Emmanuel, what's the next big one?
We're gonna be working on an RPG. I'm gonna kind of like Dungeons and Dragons.
D&D, yeah.
Like a Dungeons and Dragons board game.
Okay,
yeah, that kind of RPG, not video game. Will be great.
No, but it's not like
Yeah.
Tabletop.
What?
Well, no, because like pen and paper board games are like Dungeons and Dragons, where people just have dice and a sheet of paper. But this one's actually going to have a board and figures, and then like rules to the game. So it's more of a D&D board game than D&D flat out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mixture of Dungeons and Dragons and Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering. So we're gonna have a board. We're gonna have a little miniatures. We're gonna have cards to have powers and like different techniques, power ups, more life, etc. items. And I'm gonna be, of course, doing the art. Kevin is gonna write a couple of not campaigns, it's scenarios. I always say campaigns. And I want to have more writers, like invite more people that know about the topic.
And to be clear, the topic is the whole thing is Aztec mythology. That's the whole thing. So it's just you are humans against the gods, and that's what it's all about.
But then again, I mean, we can create not campaigns, but what?
Campaign's fine.
The scenarios or stories in which you can play with the gods, and then against humans. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna have the classics. We're gonna have the Eagle Warrior, the Jaguar, priest, witch. We're gonna have a spearman, and then with the gods, we're gonna have a Quetzalcoatl. We're gonna have Tlaloc. We're gonna have Huitzilopochtli and some more. And it's gonna be fun. It's a lot of work. The art is almost done. Now we're gonna be working on the stories after we finish the comic. And I hope everyone will like it because it's looking beautiful and fun.
No, yeah. So you guys are your specific plan for Teoatl, right?
Yeah.
Atl, yeah. So it's a 8-issue arc.
Well, okay. So I'm calling it chapters, not issues, because we're doing the first one as an issue, right?
Right.
And if we can raise enough money through this, maybe we can get the second issue and have 1 and 2 done as digital, right?
Right.
And then when we come back to this, once we get the board game going and everything, then I want to do the completed graphic novel, because I think it'd be very hard for us to do issue by issue by issue and have to try to fund each issue individually. But I think if people see it and they like it and they want to back it and then we want to back the full story, then we can do the full graphic novel. That's why I'm saying it would be somewhere between 6 and 8 chapters, depending on what we can raise and what's realistic.
Yeah.
The way we wrote it, it's about 7 chapters right now. And again, the reason it kept expanding is because of the research that we were doing. And we're trying, every character in there is a character who lived in the Valley of Mexico in the 1300s. Those are all people that actually there is some record of them living. So there's just so much to tell. And then we just need to decide, what we can fit in the story. That's where funding comes in, So we definitely have enough to make the first chapter. It's increasing right now, and we would love to be able to make chapters 1 and 2, and then be able to show all of our backers, here's what chapters 1 and 2 are, and then have the 1 as a physical. But then the ultimate goal is to have the entire book, for the finished graphic novel.
Yeah, I actually told Kevin that if we do well with the RPG, I will totally draw the next one for free, like the whole graphic novel. Like, I don't care. Like, I will do it for the sake of art.
We want to get it out there is the point. We want to get people to read it. That's the idea.
No, yeah, excellent. So, and congratulations on you guys. I know that, this is you guys' first crowdfunding campaign. Well,
it's our first full graphic novel. Like, I've worked in comics for 10 years, but the comics that I was working in were, I was doing prose basically for Marvel. I was writing the script for them. So I could write as Captain America or as other characters, but I'm always writing it like a letter that Captain America's writing. I'm not doing the actual panel to panel. And Emmanuel, he's illustrated books before, some really, really groundbreaking books, but he's just kind of dipped his toe into webcomics and stuff in the past year. So this is our first full graphic novel for either of us.
Wow. Yeah. Congratulations, especially, lifting, coming from small press, building, it's huge as a challenge, especially doing a Kickstarter. It's a full-time gig, full-time job. I mean, for those that are not familiar with crowdfunding, but congratulations on you guys. There's still a lot more add-ons, and we have some stretch goals, right? Can you guys share a little bit about the stretch goals that you guys have on?
Well, right now we're talking about stuff like simple things, postcards, and possibly adding stickers based on Emmanuel's really just his art is made for it because it's so clean and crisp.
Yeah.
It's made to be the kind of thing that people can have. And I know that all my students just always want to get stickers of characters. But as we expand, we want to see where we can go with it. So like to me, the ultimate stretch goal is being able to eventually fund the production of two issues worth, and we'll see what happens. But that's pie in the sky. It'd be great. It'd be amazing. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. We still got the first one in. And then we're also talking about adding new tiers as we get closer to the end, where we're going to add new tiers that have like portraits that Emmanuel would do, or new tiers or new add-ons that would involve Emmanuel's products and other stuff that he's done prior to my partnership with him. So we're going to expand that as we go, but we'll see where we go with it.
No, definitely. For those that are listening to us, watching us, please go to the Kickstarter.
Actually,
we'll have the link up.
There it is.
There it is. There you go. Easy.
Yeah. Texas Comics Expo over there in California. They posted that. And I thought that was so cool. They posted that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yo también quiero felicitarlos, de verdaderamente es un trabajo súper especial. Creo que tienen una doble labor, ¿no? Esa parte de obviamente enaltecer mucho el tipo de cultura, ¿no? Porque obviamente le están dando una vitrina también a nuestros antepasados, ¿no? Pero pues también, por ejemplo, Kevin, ¿qué es lo te dicen algo tus alumnos de tu trabajo? ¿Te leen? ¿Qué te gustaría también de alguna manera aportarle a tus alumnos?
So my Spanish is very poor, and I got most of that.
Yeah. So how do they react towards your work, your writings?
No, but who? I didn't get the who.
Right. And so, are they aware of Teoatl?
I haven't. Well, okay. So I haven't talked to my students about this directly. I feel very much that as a teacher, I shouldn't be promoting my ideas to the kids. If you ask my students from previous years, they don't know who I voted for, but usually they can figure it out. But I just, and I'm not every teacher has to be that way, but I feel personally that I shouldn't be sharing that. That being said, every time there is an event coming up, like we had Meximericon here in Austin, I will be promoting that like heck to the students. Go to it, go check this out. And to a couple of my students who are artists themselves, I will show them Emmanuel's work and I'll be like, what do you think about this? And kind of ask, would you want to do your interpretation of it and see what they do, just to get their feedback. But I haven't shown this to my students mainly because I don't want to make it look like I'm saying, hey, tell your parents to pay for this. That'd be really great.
No, it actually, you bring a good point, because, we're so, educators, we're so,
both of us. I forget we're both teachers, right?
Right. But yeah, you don't share out your own personal feelings, but if they're smart enough, if you had that relationship,
they'll figure it out.
Figure it out too. But it's like, for specifically for shows like shows that are enrichment purposes, especially with huge literacy components, then yes, it's important, I believe, to share those out. Especially here in Texas, we have, Texas Latino Comics is our 4th annual. We have our primos up and coming in Austin at Meximericon. And we also have our friends in Latino Comics Expo in California. We have Soul with Professor Adama Nortino in the East Coast. And so these are great venues for uplifting and promoting literacy, most important. And so talking about literacy, how do you guys see, Teoatl as an educational tool?
I see it as something that could be like college or upper level high school, because it's not going to have any cuss words in it. Ideally not going to have any direct nudity, but it's going to have a lot of blood. And because of that, it's not for middle school. It's not for elementary. But again, I've spent most of my high school career teaching seniors and juniors, and I could see, that grade level getting into it. We talked about a professor of mine that I knew from Brownsville. She was saying, I'd love to get a class set. And that's something we may need to add to the tiers on the Kickstarter. But she's like, could I get a class set, 30 issues or so to give to the students to read? And that kind of a thing I could see. but definitely it's like I think of this being young adult more than anything else. You know, not for children, but young adult.
All right, so Scholastic, if you're listening, hook them up, sign them up.
Please, we'll take it. Yeah, somebody at Scholastic, one of the publishers wants to give us a call. Give us a call. We'll take it.
Yeah. All right. So Emmanuel, so we're like checking out this panel. These. Okay, tell me this, Pedrito. This little dog is going to be one of the main characters.
I'm trying to convince Emmanuel to do that.
Like, I hate drawing dogs. Like I hate drawing animals in general. Like people would like it. Like
the dog was a last minute addition to the script, and it was just have the princess holding a dog. And then when I saw the drawing, I was like, Emmanuel, we got to bring this dog back every issue. You got to do that. You got to do that. He's like, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Hey, so all you guys watching, in the comments, go and vote up if you want to see the dog appear.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind drawing the dog like for like 2-3 panels every issue. But
not a focus of a story, just to be there,
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, so he's not a god? No,
no, the dog is not a god.
If it was Solo Squinkle.
Yeah, that's the dog god. That guy's cool.
But you didn't want to. Like, no, let's go for a Chihuahua. I'm like,
no.
Well, no, but we're gonna put those little dogs in when we get the Chichimex showing up. They should have them kind of hanging around. And I think you already drew some. You drew some in the city.
We got some votes. No pressure.
Keep the dog. So the idea of the characters is we have our 4 main characters that are warriors, and then we have these 2 princesses that are going to become equal main characters by the 2nd chapter.
Right.
And they come from very different environments. The warriors are mostly from the underclass, the Mexica, who are looked down upon at this time period, and the princesses are from the ruling class, the Colocan, that are in charge of this part of the lake at this time period. And so it makes more sense for that princess to have a Chihuahua. Maybe she's going to do that, but stories change as it goes by, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah, looking forward to.
Emmanuel, why did you want to have these guys be as big as you wanted to have them? Because like our main character, he gets bigger and bigger every time we look at the design. I love it.
That's the magic of the first issue. And that happens with all the comics. Like even if you look at the big ones like Batman, Spider-Man, like they look different on every panel. And after like the 3rd, 4th issue, they look the same all the time. So I'm going through that process. Of course, they're gonna look different. Like, well, for example, Estadio, the main character, you can see him right there because he's the biggest one. He's gonna look different on every panel until like maybe the 2nd, 3rd issue. Like I'm gonna,
you're like, that's what he's gonna be from now on.
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, like I found a way to draw the cape way better and cooler. And like I'm at the end of the comic. And like I'm not gonna go back and redraw everything. But by the 2nd, 3rd issue, like it's gonna look like that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the same happens with the body, the same happens with the face expressions, you call it. So I mean that's probably the main reason why it changes like every time you see it. Like, oh, I'm gonna trade this now, and then but then again at the end of the issue, like, oh, I mean, it looks way better like this, but like I'm not gonna go back and change like every single detail. But then again, 3rd issue, 2nd issue, like it's gonna be the same. Trust me.
We're getting some votes in the comments for people that want to keep him beefy. So yeah, good job.
Yeah. I mean, I like it like the beefier the better.
I have a good question here from Gabriel. Why do you guys see a challenge to bringing these types of stories into the mainstream? DC, Marvel, Image. Why is there a challenge, or I would say I don't want to say glass ceiling, but there's a challenge for these type of stories to hit mainstream?
That's for you, Kevin.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fine. So keep in mind, I've not written a lot about comic book history, right? And if you talk about the earliest comic book creators, like the big name creators, most of them were Jewish guys from the Northeast. But when they were creating characters, the characters they were creating were not Jewish characters because that wasn't what sold, And then even in the 60s, when Jack Kirby wanted to introduce Black Panther, originally his costume was going to have his face shown. And Stan and others were worried that if you show that on the cover of the magazine that he's black, that people aren't going to buy it. So they covered his face for the cover, and then inside the comic, he immediately takes off his mask and says, "This is who I am." And we're at a spot now in today's world where most companies want diversity. They want to have a greater variety of characters from a greater variety of cultures. But as I said earlier, there is always blowback where people complain. Oh, you're just trying to force this in. You're trying to force this in. But it's like I was saying about my students earlier. They want to see heroes that they connect with. Heroes that I think Emmanuel, are you ever inspired by Lowrider Art magazine?
Which one?
Okay, well, Lowrider Arts is a magazine that has a lot of Latino art and especially a lot of art that's inspired by Aztec and mostly Aztec culture. My students from Brownsville, they would want to see heroes that have that kind of an aesthetic. They want to see that heroes that have that kind of that connection to their ancestry. And I think it'd be good to have more of that.
Oh, okay. That's the next one. Well, our time is running up in this panel. So, where can we find more Kevin Garcia and Valtierra on social media?
You can find me at kevingarcia.com. And Emmanuel, where are you at?
If you just type on Google Emmanuel Valtierra Illustrator, you will find my Instagram, you will find my webpage, you will find my Facebook fan page. The only one that has a different name is my YouTube channel, which is Códices Aztecas, Aztec Codex, like the 4 words like that. And yeah, that's it.
And please support the Kickstarter. The link is on our comment section. And if you want more Teoatl, if you want to see the dog make another appearance, there it is. We got some votes, and let's go for the fresh goal. Again, guys, thank you so much for being our first panel here at TxLCC Comic Con Mi Casa. Gracias, Laura, too. And so for right now, at 12 o'clock, we are going to introduce some amazing artists in our Artist Alley. So see you guys at 12.
15 minutes. Come back here.
15 minutos.
Thank you guys so much.